In the few minutes it'll take to go through this, thousands of web applications are going to get attacked. So today, we're looking at a really critical line of defense, Dynamic Application Security Testing, or DAST. We're going to break down why this has moved way beyond just a techie tool and become a strategic necessity for any business that wants to survive today.
But first, let's start with the question that gets right to the heart of it all. Is your code secure or is your application secure? Now, you might think those are the same thing, right? Well, that difference, that's everything. And it's exactly where DAST comes into play.
So here's what we've got on tap. We're going to start with the challenges that are forcing security to evolve. Then we'll nail down what DAST actually is. We'll look at things from an attacker's point of view, see how DAST is being used across major industries, and then wrap up with why, for many, it's an absolute must-have for compliance. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, first up, the modern digital challenge. Look, the way we build software has completely been turned on its head, which means our approach to securing it has to change too. It has to evolve.
I mean, just think about what's going on right now. We have this absolute explosion of digital services. Our apps aren't simple little programs anymore. They're these incredibly complex webs of APIs and microservices all talking to each other. We're pushing out code at a crazy speed with DevOps. And now we've got AI writing code for us. The result of all this? A massive, constantly changing attack surface that the old ways of security just can't keep up with.
So to really get a handle on how we deal with this, it helps to compare the two main ways we look at application security. There's static testing, or SAST. That's an inside-out approach. It looks directly at your source code to find bugs, which is awesome for catching things early. But DAST is the complete opposite. It's outside in. It doesn't look at the code at all. Instead, it tests the running application in a real environment, just like an attacker would. And that's its superpower. It finds the real, actually exploitable flaws that only show up when everything is put together.
So now that we know where it fits, let's get super clear on what this whole outside-in approach really means. What is DAST? Okay, the key phrase, the part you absolutely have to remember, is right there. While it is running. That's the game changer. DAST interacts with your live application. It throws inputs at it, it pokes and prods it, and it analyzes how it responds. It does exactly what a hacker would be doing to try and find a way in.
And that's why you'll hear it called black box testing. The DAST tool doesn't need to know, and frankly doesn't care, what programming language you used, what framework it's built on, or what the code looks like. It only cares about one thing. From the outside, looking in, can I break this thing?
This brings us to a really cool way to understand DAST. Let's put on our black hats for a minute and look at it from an attacker's perspective. Because, to catch a thief, you've got to think like one.
What you're seeing here, it's basically an automated attacker's playbook. Step 1, discover. It maps out every single page, every API, every possible entry point. Then, simulate. This is where it gets aggressive. It starts injecting malicious payloads, trying to cause trouble. The analyze step is critical. It's watching for any weird, abnormal responses from the app. And finally, report. It gives you a list of confirmed exploitable holes. No theories, no guesswork, just facts.
And what kind of nasty stuff does it dig up? Well, DAST is amazing at finding those big, scary vulnerabilities, like SQL injection or cross-site scripting. But notice something. These aren't just simple bugs in a line of code. They're often flaws in the logic and configuration of the live system. The exact kind of thing that just looking at the code alone can completely miss.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the how. Let's move on to the big why. Why has DAST become such an essential pillar for modern businesses in so many different fields?
Now this might actually surprise you. The manufacturing sector, they're scanning their applications 3 times more often than the average industry. Why? Because as they digitize their supply chains and factories, they're creating these huge, high-value targets. They know that protecting that critical infrastructure is everything.
And then, of course, you've got finance. A staggering 73% of attacks on financial services were aimed directly at their web applications. Think about that. For a bank or a fintech company, DAST isn't just a nice-to-have. It's a primary shield against fraud. It's so critical that in some places, like Indonesia, it's actually been mandated by law for the entire financial sector.
And you see this story repeating itself everywhere. In retail, DAST is used to lock down e-commerce sites and meet strict payment card standards like PCI DSS. In healthcare, it's vital for protecting patient data to comply with HIPAA. And for government agencies, it's how they prove that the systems handling our most sensitive data are actually secure.
Which brings us to our last and honestly, probably the most powerful point. DAST isn't just a best practice anymore. For a lot of organizations, it's become a core compliance mandate.
It's been called a non-negotiable requirement. And that's because regulators and auditors have gotten wise. They don't just want to know that you think your code is secure, they want to see proof that your security actually works in the real world.
And you can see it right here. It doesn't matter if we're talking about GDPR, PCI DSS for credit cards, HIPAA for medical data, or SOC 2. They all demand regular testing of live systems. DAST delivers the documented proof that auditors need to see. But more than that, it helps you build a security posture that's genuinely strong, where meeting compliance isn't about ticking a box. It's just the natural outcome of actually being secure.
So when you boil it all down, all this tech, all these regulations, it really comes down to this. DAST answers the one question that truly deeply matters for your organization's security.
Is your security built on the theory of what your code is supposed to do, or is it proven against the cold, hard reality of what your application actually does when it's out in the wild facing real attacks? In today's world, that distinction makes all the difference.